Hey guys, how you doing? We're going to continue in our series for new Wetshavers. This is going to be episode number 7. We're going to talk about basic care and tips for your shaving brushes. So let's start talking about natural hair brushes. So boar and badger hair are very similar in terms of care, and really the only difference between the two is boar hair absorbs water, whereas badger hair does not. But we still are going to soak the bristles of both. And let me go ahead and get started with that point. Let's talk about boar. With a boar brush, it's important that you soak the bristles prior to use. Now, I was very careful and deliberate when I said soak the bristles. Do not soak the entire handle. Do not get water up above the start of the handle. In fact, you don't even need to submerge the full length of the bristles. Up to here will be just fine. Nothing good can come of soaking the entire handle or portion of the handle. It can only lead to bad things, so don't do it. Soak the bristles, not the brush. Why do we soak that? Well, first of all, to prevent these bristles from breaking. They can be a little bit brittle when they're dry, so when you soak it, you're going to reduce the chance that you break these bristles. Also, they absorb water, so it helps with your lathering. It also obviously makes the brush more soft when you use it. So again, it's important to soak it prior to use. Bristles only. Now, how do we care for this brush after use? Well, the first thing you do, rinse all the soap residue out of this brush. Rinse it thoroughly. Make sure you're getting all that soap out of there. Nothing good can come of leaving soap residue in these brushes. After you rinse it, you can simply squeeze the bristles and remove the water. And then what I do is take a towel and I just do this kind of motion very gently to remove any moisture out of the tips. And then I set it in a stand to dry for a full 24 hours in an area where air is circulated. Not in a closed medicine cabinet, not in a small closet or in the cabinet of your bathroom. It's very important that these brushes dry for at least 24 hours and dry thoroughly. If you don't, you're risking mold and mildew, and you don't want that. Now, badger brushes are much the same in terms of care. The only difference is they don't absorb water. But I feel you still should soak the bristles of badger brushes or badger hair simply because it will make them a little more pliable and less likely to break while you're using it. Excuse me. Now, care for this is exactly the same as boar. You simply rinse out all the soap after use, squeeze it out, make sure there's no moisture in the tip, and let it dry for another 24 hours or so. Now, after these brushes dry, one of the things that I do personally is I have a comb like this that has a wider spaced teeth on one end and more narrow on the other, and I will very gently comb this brush before I put it back in my my shelf, excuse me. And what does that do? Well, you know that crunchy feeling that occurs when you dry your badger or boar brush. It sort of takes that out of there. It keeps it looking good. It helps prevent any knots. And this is really important if you're using horsehair brushes, which are more prone to knots. It eliminates the possibility of knots, or at least minimizes it. Keeps your brush looking good. Don't have as many wild hairs. Just be careful when you're combing it, and don't be rough. Don't stick the teeth very deep and just start jerking this way, because you could, rip out hairs from the knot, and you don't want to do that. Just be gentle and comb these natural hair brushes out, and you'll find that they respond very well to that. It keeps them looking good, keeps them feeling soft. Finally, I will talk to you about synthetic brushes, which is really the easiest of all to care for, because these fibers are not brittle. You don't really need to soak it prior to use. You can just wet it and go. After use, all you got to do is, again, rinse out all the soap from this brush. Squeeze it out just like you would the others. Remove the moisture from the tips and set it out and leave it to dry for a few hours. After a few hours, they're usually dry, and you can return it to wherever you normally keep it. However, it won't hurt it if you leave it out to dry a full 24 hours. It really depends on the size of the brush and your environment as to how long these take to dry, but generally they dry much faster. They're the easiest to care for. They're not brittle. They tend not to lose hair, and that's why a lot of people love these sort of brushes. Now, there's one more tip that I'm actually going to post in the description below. And this will be a video for you to watch on how to remove soap residue if it has accumulated in the brushes. If you don't rinse these out thoroughly, you may have to perform this procedure more often. If you're rinsing your brushes thoroughly, you may only have to do it once or twice a year. And basically it consists of soaking your brush in a solution of part vinegar, part water, which will remove that residue, and then rinsing them out thoroughly. Some people add glycerin to the mix to make them a little softer, but if you're rinsing your brushes thoroughly each day, you won't have to do this very often. And again, I will post this in the description below for you to watch. As always, hit me below with any comments you have. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. As always, I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to watch. And as always, have a great shave and have a great day.